Hey everyone, and welcome to the Unlisted Map. Today's vlog is a little different, although I am going to be talking about the Green Book and Route 66 and how it actually comes into downtown, Old Town Victorville. I also am kind of veering off the path a little bit, and I'm going to share a story about Mrs. Carey's story. And she was actually the first Black woman to homestead here in Victorville in the early 1900s or mid 20th century. So I do hope you enjoy the video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Cheers! Hey everyone, this is Mary with the Unlisted Map, and I'm actually out here on E Street in Victorville. And let me see, turn around so you can see where we are. This is the fallen fruit of Victorville Park. And so you can kind of see that over there. But I'm actually on what would be the wrong side of the tracks, the other side of the tracks. This is E Street out here. And I want to tell you guys a story real quickly about Carrie's story. Carrie's story was the first Black woman. Her and her daughter came to Victorville in the 1920-ish. She died in 1938, but she actually was the first Black woman to homestead out here in Victorville. Carrie was a pretty interesting character. She was a mother of one. She'd been married at least 3 times, and I couldn't find anything on the first 2 husbands. Her third husband was not such a nice man, and after 6 months, she had the marriage annulled. She then um, she washed clothes. She did kind of domestic kind of things out here in Victorville. She and her daughter would picket D Street and for the segregation that part of Route 66, and we'll show you part of that, and that's the whole story of the Green Book and of Route 66, is that there are a lot of people, your brown and black skinned people built Route 66 out here in Victorville, but they could not access Route 6, any of the establishments. And so out here on E Street, they were called E Streeters, and they actually would create their own town. They had their own post office, they had their own church, they had their own grocery store. So this was a whole community amongst Victorville. That is D Street and the old train station. And you could actually kind of see, let's see if I can get over there. You can actually see the sign for Old Town. Let me zoom in for you. So we're traveling up E Street. Carrie was a prominent resident and a spiritual anchor for the E Streeters, the tight-knit brown and black community in Victorville that lived along E Street. This neighborhood was composed of the very people who did the heavy, back-breaking labor building up the infrastructure around Route 66 and the local railways. Yet beyond the Jim Crow era, segregation and systemic exclusion, they were barred from frequenting the shiny neon diners, motels, and lounges that they helped make successful. Despite being marginalized by the town's official establishments, Carrie built a reputation that transcended the boundaries of the high desert. She was a powerful, deeply intuitive healer. Her gift was so renowned that celebrity figures and Hollywood stars from the Golden Age would frequently escape the pressures of Los Angeles, driving past the Cajon Pass, specifically to seek her out. In time, she couldn't legally sit at a local lunch counter. The cultural elite of California were traveling to her doorstep. turning her home into a quiet sanctuary of spiritual and physical wellness. Carrie's footprint was lost to the march of industrial modernization as Victorville expanded and the massive industrial cement plant at the end of East Street grew. At the end of the street here is the cement plant, and this came in. I'm not sure when this actually came in, but all of the E Streeters and everybody on this in this neighborhood were pretty much displaced because this went all the way down to part of the National Trail, and you can see that there's the train on there. There's the train, and so this would have also displaced Carrie Story because actually her home is down at the end of this street. And she would go out to the river, Mojave River, which would be out there. And that's where she would wash her clothes. She'd wash her clothes in the river, which is down in that area. And you can see behind me is the 15 freeway. This is the old Victorville jail located on E Street. It was built in 1907, actually opened for business in 1907 by the local constable Ed Dolch, the man instrumental in getting the county to finally build a dedicated lockup facility for the growing desert town. It had no running water, absolutely no heat because of the freezing high desert winters and blistering summers. Simply being locked inside this tiny exposed concrete structure was considered severe physical punishment in its own right. In the early 1900s, it mostly held local rowdies, saloon brawlers, bootleggers, and people caught causing trouble along the nearby Santa Fe Railway. The inmates were people to dig and drain the nearby mosquito infested Mojave River swamp. So I'm not sure what happened to my mic here, but I am now at the address of 15562 6th Street. And this is the corner of 6th Street, and I believe that is might be B behind me. I can't remember. But I wanted to share that this was actually a tourist home for Mrs. Gardner. And unfortunately, there's no home. This is a restaurant, and on the other side is a residential home. But this goes to show you that even on the tourist homes have become unlisted. Tourist homes were ran by word of mouth in the 1940s, providing safe, vital shelter for Black travelers navigating the high desert when mainstream Victorville motels turned them away. Where Mrs. Gardner's home used to be, Mrs. Gardner was a tourist home out here in the old part of Victorville. And that's D Street down there on the end. Remember in the Green Book, Mrs. D Street, or Mrs. D Street, Mrs. Gardner was actually a tourist home. Okay, so this is actually 155-602 5th Street. And this would have been Mrs. Taylor's house. Mrs. Taylor was also in the Green Book as a tourist home. And unfortunately, this home too was demolished. Not sure what happened, but and I'm gonna put this so that way you guys can see. The homes were not very big. These were maybe three or 2 or 3 bedroom homes, but little bungalows or little craftsman style homes. It makes me kind of sad thinking that a home becomes unlisted very quickly, or can become unlisted quickly. Goodness. When we're trying to do things, people are people are doing things. So I'm in between C Street and I'm sorry, 4th Street and 6th Street, or 5th Street, which is behind me. And right now, just the guys moving out of the way, so I can show you this lot that this used to be. We're not sure exactly where, whether it's out here in the front or if it's the lot here in the back. But this would be where it was called the Blue Willow. And the Blue Willow was actually another tourist home, and it was pretty famous to be given the name Blue Willow. A lot of times in the Green Book, what they would do is they wouldn't want to put their name in the book. And so what they would do is they would give their home a name, and that's where folks would then know is safe to go to. They couldn't stay at the hotels. They couldn't stay at what I showed you earlier was the Green Spot, which was actually a much nicer place than what we saw. And that was very ritzy. Your stars, your movie stars, the elite would stay there. But this was where the Green Book traveler could stay. So
mug in the picture. Possibly this one. Possibly that.
Yeah. Yeah. Not quite sure. All of this has been realigned due to Route 66 and the freeway. All right. So the Sanctuaries were also another family here in Victorville, early homesteaders who were very wealthy. And they actually created a pool, an ice pool, I guess if you can say, and that pool was available for the people here in Victorville at that time to go swimming. I want to take you back around to the Turner's home, which is on the corner. So we're going to do a quick U-turn. Hopefully.
I wonder what this is. Looks like a theater.
I don't know. All right. So this is the Turner home. There's the sign right there. And the Turners were also one of the first families to homestead here in Victorville. And from what I know, interesting is that in this area you also had a huge, not just across the street on E Street that I showed you earlier, but up here on 5th and 4th, you had a few tourist homes. So when the African Americans were on Route 66 coming down either the Cajon Pass, or they were coming out from the desert out here, they would bypass this street and they would head over to 5th and 4th, and there they would find the homes of such as Mrs. Taylor or of a Mrs. Gardner. Before heading over to Route 66 Business Loop, I wanted to show you the primary school site. This was built in 1908, and it was originally located on 6th and C Streets. It replaced the original school from the 1800s that sat on the east side of the tracks. In the summer of 1908, the town passed a $2,500 bond
to add 2-room additions to it, bringing it to a total of 4 rooms to accommodate a massive local boom. The student population jumped from 55 to 79 kids. Now, the old Victor School, which is across the street, was built in 1922, and it grew rapidly because of the cement plant, and so the 1908 grammar school couldn't hold that head count. In April 22, a massive town meeting was called, the bond was passed, and trustees bought up the entire city block from 5th and 6th Street to build the beautiful Chicago School of Architecture style building we know today. This is some of my favorite pictures of what Hotel Smith would have looked like in its heyday in the 1910s and the 1920s. It actually stood on the corner of 7th Street and Avenue D, and it stretched as far, I believe, as far back as Avenue B. In these images, you can see that it's standing on 7th Street, which is the main thoroughfare for the National Old Trails Road before the highway shifted. It was a stately 2-story wooden structure and with a long, prominent covered front porch stretching across the entire face of the building. The most famous photo is usually featured early Model T Fords covered in thick desert dust, parked right out on the unpaved road. The hotel had big, bold lettering on the side facing the railroad tracks that read Hotel Smith, so that passengers looking out the train window or driving into town couldn't possibly miss it. Seeing these old photos really drives home just how much it was the true focal point of downtown Victorville's original commercial boom. I'm getting ready to make my turn onto Route 66, the business loop, and here you can see the old town Route 66. Most of your Green Book travelers may or may not have come up this way, heading towards the Cajon Pass. That's the green spot back there in that corner tucked away. But these are some of the buildings. Some of them are new and some of them are old from that time period. But your traveler would have come up this way. Most of them would not have been able to stay at that green spot, nor would they have been able to stay at the Hotel Smith. This is where the J.C. Penney's used to be. I think that was a bank there. But most of these buildings have been replaced or have been lost to time, or the Unlisted Map, as I would say. And over here, I'm not sure what this vacant lot used to be, but now it is the Veterans Memorial. We're getting ready to round the corner here at C Street, where we're going to find the green spot. There was so much drama, luxury, and hidden history happened within this one little complex. It wasn't just a rest stop, it was a high society nerve center of Victorville during the golden age of Route 66. Orson Welles needed to get his brilliant, chaotic screenwriters Mankiewicz and Houseman to completely away from the distractions of all-night parties of Los Angeles so they could actually finish a script. He essentially banished them to the desolate outpost of Victorville and holed them up into the green spot. Right there in these rooms, sheltered from Hollywood drama, they wrote the first 2 drafts of Citizen Kane. Victorville and the surrounding high desert were massive filming hubs for classic Hollywood westerns, and the green spot became the premier luxury oasis for movie stars and crews. Longtime locals remember it as the ultimate place for celebrity watch. When a major actor came to the desert to shoot, they were there staying to enjoy the modern luxuries like the Frigidaire, air conditioning, and circulating ice water. Former actress Kay Aldridge, famous for her roles in the 1940s serials like Pearls of NYOKA, actually bought and owned the motel for several years after her Hollywood retirement. The green spot on the east side of the street wasn't just a restaurant, it doubled as the official Greyhound bus depot and bar. It held the bus terminal. It was constant, swirling crossroads of humanity. Day and night, cross-country tourists, servicemen traveling to and from the nearby military bases, Hollywood elites, and locals were all packed into the cafe bar. It was a bustling, lively spot where everyone shared a booth while waiting for the next bus out across the Mojave. The event that forever changed the geography of the site happened in 1954. Some local accounts say as late as 1953, a massive, devastating fire tore through the Green Spot Cafe. The building was a total loss and was never rebuilt, instantly wiping out the social heart of the property and leaving the U-shaped motel court across the street to stand alone as a fragment of its former self. So this is the New Corral Motel off of Route 66. That's actually Route 66 out there. And the corral was actually built in 1926. Um, there's guests back there, so I'm not going to be recording that. But you'll see some photos. I'll stick some photos of what the hotel looks like. The horse up there was actually designed after Trigger, Roy Rogers' horse. Roy Rogers and Dell Evans, used to live out here. They actually have an old home that's still out here that's on the registry. That's out in Apple Valley. When U.S. Highway 66 was officially commissioned in 1926, it initially routed traffic right down D Street and turned onto 7th Street. That exact year sparked the initial wave of auto camps and early roadside structures along that specific corridor to catch the brand new highway traffic. What happened with the new corral is that the site itself saw multiple waves of development as Route 66 evolved, while the fully realized rustic stone and wood motor court and that famous neon bucking bronco sign reached their peak configuration later in that post-war boom. The roots of the property and the alignment it sits on tie directly back to that foundational 1926 birth of the Mother Road. Okay, you guys, this is just really some fascinating information that I just found out by looking at my notes. So we are actually at 16825 D Street, and in front of me is the Route 66 Museum. And I'm going to get out and I'm going to get out and so you guys can see what I'm showing you here. So that is the Barrel House. Barrel House was actually, it's a pretty famous liquor store only because the door is made from, looks like barrel material. But this parking lot, this area that we're standing in, this whole section right here was actually the Red Rooster Cafe and Restaurant and Cocktail Lounge, which is now 66 Museum. And when it was the Red Rooster Cafe, Neil Diamond used it to film The Jazz Singer. This is completely blowing my mind. Welcome everyone to the Unlisted Pairing. Wasn't that a very interesting vlog today? So today we're actually going to pair a French wine, which I have never had before. So this is actually a new find for me. I am pairing, see that? It is La Jacine
Côte d'Iron villagers or villages. And just a little bit, it's from France. It's a 2022, and I've got some notes here, so I'm going to share that real quickly so I get it right. Villages is a designation on the label as a step up from the standard Côte d'Iron. It means the fruit comes from entirely higher, higher tier low-yielding vineyards, specifically from the high elevation of Valrais. It's 60% Grenache, 40% Syrah. It has a ripe blackberry, dark raspberry note or flavor, black pepper, and that classic French, I'm going to try and practice this word, gargru or gargru. It's wild rosemary and thyme. So I had a little bit of this yesterday, and when I first tasted it, I tasted cotton candy, which was surprising. It is not a sweet wine, it is a dry wine, but the Grenache is a slightly sweeter varietal than the Syrah. Syrah is much more peppery. The Grenache is much more strawberry, the lighter berries that you might find like in a Pinot Noir, although this is not a Pinot Noir. And it's 14.5% alcohol by volume. So I'm pairing it today with, I'm going to show you here. Oop, wrong way. I have some olives, and I have a white sharp cheddar cheese, my turkey pepperoni, and dark chocolate. So not only is dark chocolate good for you, it is also pairs very nicely with a dark red wine. So I want to kind of talk about a little bit about the vlog, and the reason why I'm pairing these things together is it mimics the history of the uncovered story that we shared today. The bold, upfront commercial pride of Hotel Stewart or Smith. There is a whole history that I uncovered after the vlog. It was technically called Hotel Stewart, but the manager, John Pappy Smith, I believe, he managed it. And so it just, because he was there for so long and he was doing all the work, people just called it his hotel. So it kind of got this mixed Hotel Stewart, Hotel Smith. But as we look closer, we found unexpected layers like the briny olives and dark chocolate, mirroring the hidden histories of places like the Red Rooster, which, interesting enough, the Red Rooster later became Les Pyrenees, then became Route 66 Museum. All of that just kind of blew my mind. It reminds us that history, just like a great glass of wine, is best when you take it slower and savor every single layer. Thanks everyone for joining me on the Unlisted Map and the Unlisted Pairing today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please, if you so choose, like and subscribe. And please stay tuned. If you subscribe, we're going to talk about the final leg of our trip on the Route 66 as we head into Los Angeles. And we may not necessarily be heading to the Santa Monica Pier. I'll talk to you then. Bye.